Okay, so Mitakai Oyasin. Mitakai Oyasin is a Lakota term. It means all my relations, so that means all of you. I am a firm believer that we are one family. I don't like, in fact, I guess you could say I'm really offended by the idea of trying to break things into black and white and straight and gay and all the other nonsense. Uh, all my family, all my relations, that's all of you, Mitakai Oyasin. And today I have the honor of speaking to Abundance Child. I met her, was it 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, I guess,
Mhm.
through our mutual friend Sar. Some of you may remember that Sar and I had my second conversation with Sar, and so I met Abundance 2 weeks ago, and I have to say, Abundance, that you are appropriately named. You are an abundance of joy
Thank you.
and goodwill. And I met her at her restaurant, and I just felt completely warm and safe and comfortable in her presence. So I am really happy to have you here.
Cool.
I have not done one of these How to Heal America conversations in, I guess, a month. I've done 13 of these, I believe. Yeah, the last one actually was a summary because the gentleman did not want to actually be recorded. He changed his mind, but I summarized it. So I had 12 conversations, and the 13th was summarized. And now, abundance. So the question, as always, is how do we heal America? What have we been doing right? What have we been doing wrong? And how do we course correct, from the wrongdoings? That's how I open up this conversation, and take it away, abundance, please.
First, I love how you open the show. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Um, that's like when we do the sweat lodges when we're going in and
Yes,
coming out. That's what
yes.
we say. I love it
Well,
because
I'm sorry. I'm part Cherokee, so I'm very much into American Indian folklore, philosophies, way of life, everything. Very much
mhm.
into it.
So my genealogy reflects the same, although we don't use that term. But we also have Lumbee tribe in my family out of South
Yes,
Carolina, and that is also the Lumbee tribe is also Cherokee, but it's misnomered. So yeah, that's my family as well. But I love it because it's so inclusive.
yes,
It doesn't
exactly.
matter what where you are in your state of evolution in this life physically, it forces you to accept all of your relations. And you might not know that some of your relations might be the very people that you think that you hate or you despise or you stereotype.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed. Uh, I don't. Did I mention to you the lineage of my own family, of the Still family name?
No.
Okay, so there are a great deal of white stills, a great deal of black stills, a great deal of Cherokee stills. The black stills are very populous and well known around here. They have a family reunion. Well, they have several, but the one that uh, that I've been invited to and that I go to most every year is in Lawnside, New Jersey, which is not too far from Camden, not too far from Philadelphia. And they've been having that reunion. Well, it would have been the 151st reunion this year, but it was canceled due to COVID. So I was at the 150th. And briefly, the story of how this reunion got started is that Levin and Charity Still were husband and wife in Maryland. They were slaves. They tried to escape together. They couldn't make it, so Levin decided to go by himself with some of the kids, and he was going to come back later for Charity and the rest of the kids. Levin made it to New Jersey, couldn't get back,
Mhm.
and the slave quote owner because the whole idea of owning somebody is ridiculous. So the slave master was so angry that he sold the remaining slaves further south, right?
Mm-hmm.
Charity and I believe some of the other kids actually made it before he sold the remaining slave, which was Peter, still back. Back south, down south. So Peter winds up in Florida. He winds up in Alabama. He's completely separated from his family. He winds up in Alabama, where it is against the law to free a slave, but his slave masters freed him anyway because they were essentially good people. They were the freed, F-R-I-E-D, freedman family, a Jewish family. They let him work his way to slavery. Peter had to go incognito on a steamboat up the Mississippi. He gets to Ohio. He's a free man. He can proclaim that his name is Peter still. He works his way to Philadelphia because he knows that his family, or the stories were that the family made it to New Jersey, and there was a big underground railroad office in Philadelphia. So he gets to Philly, and he walks into the office of the Underground Railroad conductor, sits down, tells him his story. As he tells him his story, the conductor realizes that his story is the conductor's story. Same family, same family lore, same description of the owners. The conductor was William Still. The guy who walked into the office was Peter Still. Peter had no idea that William had a job as the Underground Railroad conductor in Philadelphia. He had heard the story of the slave, of the brother who was left behind, and when he connected all the dots, William said, "Brother!" And they had a family reunion right then and there.
And that was the first one?
Well, no. What happened is William took Peter to meet Charity and Levin in New Jersey, in the Lawnside area, and they called all the family together, and that was the first reunion.
Wow.
One of the famous Still brothers was also James Still. James was known as the Black Doctor of the Pines. Mm-hmm. He could cure people of their illnesses, including the white folks, and the white folks would always go to James after the white doctors couldn't cure them or cure their children. So reluctantly, they go down the line, they finally go to James, and more often than not, James had the healing touch. James was not allowed to go to college. So what he learned about medicine, he learned from the Lenape Indians. Mm-hmm. Or from the Lenape, I should say. So he was extremely successful. He had the largest house and the largest amount of land in South Jersey. Mm-hmm. A black man. It was.
He's on fantastic. One of my hoodoo cards. He's on one of my tarot cards.
Okay.
For like hoodoo. Yeah. So they give his story on that card whenever he comes up. It's usually something to do with healing or medicine.
Right. So lots of stills. Most of the people in my family embrace me. They say, "Welcome, you're my brother, you're my cousin." Some people question it. Not very many, just a few. Some people are just kind of snotty about it. And it's never the white folks. It's the black folks who are snotty about it. But just a few. And I always tell people, my family, red, black, white, this doesn't matter. What matters is in here. But even beyond that, we're all from Africa. And the human race started in Africa.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
So we're all family. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I don't believe that. I'm not one of those black people that I'm not a Pan-Africanist.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe that all of Africa, I don't believe in the out of Africa theory. Okay. I do believe that race does matter and skin color does matter, because why is it that you have this important, beautiful lineage and you're telling me this great story, but you in this evolution of your soul chose to incarnate as somebody who is more pale skin, that is not brown. You didn't come as brown, you didn't come as red. So to me, there is a lesson that you are supposed to be learning in this physicality, not only as a so-called white person, but also as a so-called male person, meaning you have a male gender,
Right.
if I'm assuming right, you know?
Yes,
So
you
there
are.
are some things that I will never understand, but I do think that play an important factor. I think we might overemphasize too much on gender, too much on race, and not so much on lineage, not so much on descent, not so much on ethnicity, morals, values, behaviors. Those things are very important.
Right.
However, I do think there is room for conversation about race. And honestly, if you look at the Grand Canyon, everybody says that it is a canyon, when in fact it is a pyramid. When they in fact found so-called Egyptian artifacts there, and they would like to say that Africans came over here and they were over here prior to Columbus, instead of accepting that America was considered the original Egypt, instead of considering that all the Egyptian things that they have been writing about all these years may have been talking about America. This is the home of the eagle. This is the home of those original cats. This is the home of the original camel. This is the home of the actual panther. This is the home of the oldest water, the oldest pyramids, the largest pyramids, the most functional pyramids. That this, in fact, is West Africa. That we, in fact, have always been here. That we're not from the so-called Eastern continental Africa that people like to glorify now today. That is my personal belief, that when Atlantis fell, a whole great civilization fell, and you had half of our ancestors on this side, the West, and another half, this is the West, this is the Al-Maghrib, this is the Mexum. That is just my own personal philosophy and thoughts.
I like it.
Yeah.
Small favor, don't lean into the camera like that, because all I saw was your mouth. The way you're sitting right now is perfect.
Okay.
Is absolutely perfect.
I wanted to make sure you hear.
No, I can. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. What people call race does matter. Skin tone and culture absolutely matters, but you're right. There's an overemphasis on it, and the overemphasis is causing division. It's causing the exact same division that we're supposed to be against. It boggles my mind.
Okay, who is we? Who is we that's supposed to be against?
Well, for example, when the progressives in America, the left in America, they say that they want to. They say they are absolutely opposed to the concept of racism. But the things that they say, the things that they do, the actions that they take, increase the divide. They overemphasize black and white. They overemphasize brown and yellow and black and white. I mean, the idea is the idea that I believe in with all my heart and soul is the equality of the human soul. That we are all born and gifted by the divine creator with strength and resiliency and wisdom. And the wisdom is out there for the taking, right? And we all have that as our birthright. That is, God created us to be a level playing field. What we do with the gifts we have is our decision. And we are influenced by the people around us. And a lot of us, we, the American people, humanity throughout the globe, are encouraged to make bad decisions based on our culture, based on our skin tone.
I understand.
And that's what. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Part of the problem might be because you said we, like, I don't subscribe to the we.
Go
I
ahead.
completely agree with everything that you said. This is what I teach my children, and this is what I strive to be a better version of myself every day. But I am not a part of any leftist group. I don't subscribe to Democrat, Republican, Independent, any of those things. I just don't, because I have never found a group, not even within my own family, that agrees 100% with my philosophy. So where I'm coming today is based off of my own journey and my own evolution as a human in this lifetime, because we all have many lifetimes, and I believe that this lifetime is a result of my past lifetimes. And my past lifetime might have been yesterday. It might have
Okay.
been 10 minutes ago because I woke up and I had this crazy dream. I was trying to write it down and figure it out, but it also could have been 10 years ago. It also might have been 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago. So me, I am accumulation of all those lifetimes. Today is a result of that. So today I am on this podcast with you, and I'm saying I agree. I believe that we have a spirit, which is our vessel, and we use our actual, we actually use this human vessel to be able to get around in this lifetime that encapsulates our soul, which is all of our lifetimes, which cannot die. But in this spirit realm, this energy that I'm in right now, I agree. I believe that we all have gained godly ability to master everything, that we are supposed to be using the vessel that we chose, which is our human body, our mind, our intellect, our lineage, our ancestors, and things like that, not to have ego, but to use it to help build upon, to help creation. So yes, I'm brown and I'm beautiful and I love it, and I'm grateful that I came with this style hair and it's nappy, and I feel like this is one of the greatest tools I could have used and have chosen in this lifetime in order to sustain myself in this lifetime. I have great big hips. I've had great children with those hips. I have great things that have attracted men so that I can have children and attract good husband in my life. I have a beautiful mind, which has allowed me to use my gifts of my hands to be able to make wonderful food to feed the community with. I have a great voice, which allows me to project myself and speak the things that I have on my mind. But I also have eyes that can see that the veil has been lifted, where yes, I see you. And maybe 10 years ago, I've been like, fuck white people, Black power, because I was studying the Black Panther Party, and I was studying a lot of things that were true, but I was becoming angry. I hadn't developed my spiritual part of myself, which allowed me to open up the veil. So where I think in this time right now is that I'm grateful to learn about my Cherokee heritage. I'm grateful to learn about my African heritage because I have both. On my maternal side, we are Aboriginal Americans. We were here before Columbus. We were here before those boats were coming over here, bringing in Africans. And because of paper genocide, because of things like because of Walter Plecker and in Virginia, they had racial integrity acts. My great grandmother, who was born on a reservation, on her original birth certificate, it says mulatto. It says that also in the census records. But later on, when she moved to North Carolina, she's listed as Negro. Later on, when she moved with my grandmother and they had to get another birth certificate, it says Black.
Right.
How is it that she went from Indian to, sorry, I forgot that part, Indian to mulatto to Negro to Black? These are real genealogical records that we have from getting birth records and death records and things like that. So what I'm saying is that now we can't even, because of my skin color, I can't even go back and claim Indian in that same very Cherokee nation, because they weren't allowing until they overturned it again recently that Black people could receive tribal status, right?
Yes.
I believe that I should be able to have that status because my genealogy shows that I'm not a US, like my family weren't US citizens, that we weren't Negroes, we weren't slaves. So the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to us, and neither did the Dred Scott decision apply to us. that we have the right to these lands because these are our birth lands. I have the right to my own nationality. I have the right to set up business on my own terms. I was already homeschooling my children. I was already saying, hey, we don't want to get birth certificates and social securities. Already saying, hey, we don't want to immunize my children. I'm not a state of Delaware resident. I don't vote in your elections. I don't want to pay taxes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I
I'm
do.
not saying that I don't believe in paying taxes. I don't feel as though I owe the IRS anything based off of my lineage, based off of who I am, based off of my state of mind. To me, we should be using our lineage and our color, meaning if you are a so-called white man now and you've had access to privilege, you should be using your voice to help your brothers and sisters that you so-called say that you love, not your political platform. Do it in real life.
You and I are completely in agreement with this. Completely. Because when I say we, what drives me crazy is that too much of society, the political parties mostly, right, talk about us and them. And my whole philosophy, Mitakayason, all my relations were all family. That's the way. Of course, there are cultural differences, whether it be from tribe or from your neighborhood or your family. Of course, there are differences. What I like to say is to be color blinded, but culturally minded. And those differences are important.
Blinded.
Yes. You know, I want to rhyme. So those differences are important. They create the tapestry, this wonderful, glorious tapestry of our existence, of God's family. It needs to be celebrated. It needs to be utilized. So that's the we. We are diverse, but
Yes.
don't split us up into us and them. Don't tell me that I am so inconceivable. Don't tell me that I am so irredeemably different from you that we can never understand each other. That's to me that's a violation of my soul, of God's purpose. So I love what you say. I love it.
But I also remember
go ahead.
that everybody has their own destiny, Mark.
Yes.
That your purpose might not be somebody else's purpose.
Oh, I know that.
Right. Somebody else might be.
I can see just your mouth again.
A different lesson.
Go back.
Somebody else might be here to learn a different lesson.
Oh yeah. Okay. So in my, I don't know if I probably didn't have the time to mention this to you. In my therapy, I'm a huge proponent of logotherapy. And logotherapy says that the purpose of life is to find and pursue your individual purpose.
Right.
And your purpose can actually change, like you were saying, right? From lifetime to lifetime, whether it be 10 minutes or 10 years, your purpose can change as time goes on. I think generally my purpose has remained the same. I am here to shed my light. I am here to help people find their purpose. And I think I've been doing that. I mean, I have been doing that all my life, but I've been doing it through different avenues, through different mechanisms throughout my life. So that keeps changing. But I think the general purpose remains the same.
Yes.
So there was something that you said when I met you a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to give you, I wanted to explore. You mentioned the whole George Floyd thing. Those were your words. So can you tell me, do you think that we're reacting, again, the we being United States of America, do you think that we're reacting well to the whole George Floyd thing?
I think we're exaggerating.
Okay.
I think that these things happen. I think that we are in the exact same state today that we were in 1865, but it looks differently. in that we somehow are fooled into thinking that this is a different time period, that there's some type of difference. I was taught that spiritually time never was when man was not, that all things that have ever been and that ever will be are, and that we with our flesh are just literally having the human experience. I think that the projections, the marketing, and the response are highly exaggerated, and that they are a distraction, because these things happen all of the time. Yes, we have cell phones now so we can see it. But what about my brother, my flesh and blood brother that had mistaken identity in Los Angeles, and they kicked him down, kicked him in the back of his back and locked him up, and they thought he was somebody else and had to let him out. But he had to stay all that time, like 2 weeks locked up. This is real things that actually happen. I literally, with my small social media presence, could have made some noise and told everybody that I know, look, this is what happened to my brother, my flesh and blood brother, who's 3 years older than me. I mean, younger than me, oh my goodness. Also, my daughter got in our own neighborhood, a predominantly white neighborhood, where people with six figures, only people who have six-figure incomes, at least 2 six-figure incomes, can afford those homes.
Right.
A mob of all so-called white children beat my daughter with the rock, and her eyebrow is split. Now, this happened 6 years ago. I went crazy on social media. I had 6 million views. When I say they, I'm talking about literally the state, the FBI shut down my Facebook page, where I had 500 and something thousand followers. I had to start over because literally people who knew me from my previous broadcast were like, oh no, not Abundance Child. And people were threatening to come to the state of Delaware in March. They shut my Facebook page down like that. I don't have that page anymore. That is my original Abundance Child Facebook page. I only have 17,000 followers. Previously, I had 500,000 followers. Shut it down. And no remedy came to my daughter because of that, because that family got a great lawyer, which I actually wanted to get myself, but they got to him first. And they weren't able to prove if Miara was somebody who instigated or anything like that. So anyway, we just let it go. I didn't want to keep it going. What I'm saying is that these things are actually really happening every day in schools. These things are happening on our school buses. These things are happening inside our homes. There's people like you who sat at dinner tables and you didn't feel the way maybe your parents felt, and you had to hide that part of yourself because your own family might have been racist. We have Black people, we sit around, now you know daggone well that my dinner table was different than maybe your dinner table. Our conversations based off of, could it be socioeconomic status, experience, social experience, whatever. When the tables that I sat around made me uncomfortable because everybody was like, fuck white people. I don't feel that way, okay? Excuse my language. I apologize. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I like to curse. But they literally were like that. It made me uncomfortable. Not because I haven't been there in my past life 5 years ago, but because I felt like that wasn't the way. And I felt like I need to be around people who are more spiritually evolved, who can more lead my children. Because my stepfather is so-called white and my brother is half white and half Black. And I thought about, if we just kill all white people, my brother might be included. And what did he do to deserve that?
Right.
What did he do to deserve that other than choosing to be half white and half Black? My 2 sisters are half white and half Black. What did they do to deserve? They might not be cognizant of the fact that they chose to come into this family as a contract in this lifetime, and that they chose that skin color and that hair and those eyes based off of their previous experience. But the fact is, because they're not spiritually aware, why should they die because of George Floyd's experience? Do you understand where I'm going with this?
I do.
So we made a mockery of this situation as far as I'm concerned. People's businesses got hurt. And what happened is people got caught up in the emotion of it. And I feel like people have the right to feel the way that they feel. They have the right to be emotional, but the response was immature. And I feel like the United States allowed for certain things to happen. The state of Delaware allowed for certain things to happen because they wanted to show that they wanted to take a side, because they hadn't did what they needed to do, period. So a lot of people are coming up and monopolizing off of all of these recent events. I see Afro-Indigenous Day happening in the state of Delaware, when some of these same people who are claiming Afro-Indigenous haven't claimed this at all. People are putting up red, black, and green flags in my own state. However, I don't feel like they're really doing the work of Marcus Garvey, but they call it Garvey City. Just because you have a nonprofit organization and we do some hip hop shows and things like that, doesn't mean you have been doing the ancestral work to actually realize these dreams. Now, you might be doing the best that you can. I'm just saying a lot of people are taking advantage financially, taking advantage of getting monies, right?
Yes.
Taking advantage of the state giving people this and giving that, trying to just make up for things that they haven't done over the past 300 years. And the people who are benefiting are not the people, in my opinion, who should be benefiting the most.
I have nothing to add to that. I'm thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. I feel your passion. I feel your anger. I'm not trying to, diminish it by laughing. It's actually joy. I'm grateful to you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I can tell the difference in somebody's like, oh, she's full of shit. Can you believe this? No, I don't think that that's where it's coming from. I could tell from your spirit that,
well, thank you.
This might be a breath of fresh air for you. You know what I mean?
Actually, it is. I know quite a few people, black and white and brown and yellow, who agree with you, but I know very few dark-skinned people who would actually say it aloud, on social media.
I got it.
So that's the breath of fresh air that I am very grateful for. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm not scared anymore. I was like those black people before. Like, I was angry too. And I felt like the only way out was just to kill all white people or send them back to Europe. Literally, straight up. I'm like, this is the only way. No, literally.
No,
but then I started evolving spiritually and I was like, coexist. I used to see this Wicca, they have these signs on their car. I used to go to this place where it was a Wiccan store, so they had a lot of, witchcraft and stuff like that. But I saw that they had a lot of things that said coexist. And it had, all the various different symbols of different religions on there. And I used to be like, man, that's so kumbaya. Oh, let's get along. Like, that's easy to say when you're all safe in your mountains because you have the socioeconomic status to live off the earth, when we have to be over here in the hood because we don't know anything better than accepting sharecropper, wages and rations known as welfare. And we got the sugar daddy plantation owner giving us, welfare and purchase of care and a check for this and food stamps for that. And this is generational, so we don't know how to get out. And I'm like, people make it, it's easier if you're white to be so peace and blessings, waving your incense and your sage and going to sweat lodges and living the life, right? That's the way I used to look at it. And then I was just like, no, we all have our own godly ability to master everything. We all have 24 hours in a day. We all have the ability to be like, enough is enough. And when that happened to me, I said, I'm not going to stand behind a red, black, and green flag. I'm not going to stand behind the jihad wars. I'm not going to stand behind all of this violence. I don't believe that that's the way. I believe that it's love that's going to be able to heal everything. And I believe that patience is going to be the thing that we are going to have to learn first and foremost. It didn't take us It didn't take us 20 minutes or 30 days to get into this situation. No march, no looting, no amount of protests right now, no amount of blogging, no amount of podcasting is going to heal the world. It's going to take that superficial idea of time. It's going to be patience. Patience is the father of all character. And we're going to have to trust that the energy that you're putting into your son, as I'm putting into my daughters, the energy that we're putting into these podcasts and the words that we're speaking will actually create forms. Our thoughts will create forms. Our words will create power, and it will resonate on this plane and the astral plane, which is way higher. And maybe we could bring from heaven to earth some real physicality to make some of these things happen. And that in a blink of an eye, it'll be 200 years. And maybe we will reincarnate again and remember somehow there was a conversation that was recorded by somebody who was a descendant of Still and somebody who was a descendant of a Freeman. And they had this conversation in like 2020. And look at the world today. It's all peace and love and Zionish, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we don't
Yeah,
worry about the color of our skin. But
so,
we will have tapped into that energy and our ancestors, which could be me and you again, sitting here again, like, oh my gosh, that was us. That was us. That was literally you and I. You know what I mean? You were the person at the underground office, and I was the actual runaway. You never know who we come back as.
Right. I'm sure you have many more personal stories than I have. Oh my God, probably hundreds of them if I would actually sit down and catalog them. But the one that I think of most, especially when you tell me your story about your daughter, guy in the somebody that I knew. I actually knew him through his family. I met him a couple times, but for all extents and purposes, he was executed by the police. A white guy. He was a drug user, a little bit of a dealer, just a bad seed, and he just was rubbed out one day, and his family and I got involved in trying to set the record straight and trying to find some justice, and it just went nowhere. And at some point, I just had to say, well, I've done my best. I've put all the energy that I can into this, but that informed me. Informs me to this day, and helps me to make me the person that I am. So, and it helps me to understand your story about your daughter. It helps me to understand your personal journey. There's so much that we human beings have in common, not just through our DNA, but through our personal experiences. So if I may say, it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that you and I are in complete agreement that the way to heal America is to develop our spiritual side, to reach out to our neighbors and realize that we are all, these bodies are spiritual vessels.
Yeah.
And if we just could drop all this, people call it identity politics, if we could just drop that and get down to our real spiritual essence and try to connect to people through that and that only, we would not only heal America, we would heal the world.
Isn't it deep how we have all these logos and brands, but the true logo is about your purpose, your actual purpose and your mission. How do any of these logos represent that? To me, the way to heal the world is to find your purpose and to do it, and to find other people who are finding their purpose and to do it. And at least in your part of the world, which might be starting with yourself, which then will be your family, which will then be your community, you will have like a perfect scenario. So for example, we got introduced by a mutual friend who has been a part of my egg bay for some 20 years. I see a lot of stuff online. I do not magnetize those things in my feeds or in my real life because I have been developing and evolving myself and working on my purpose. I'm meeting people who are developing and evolving themselves. themselves and working on their purpose. And so we're able to sit down and break bread together, get on each other's shows, promote each other, go to each other's house, do sweats with each other, do ayahuasca retreats with each other, be at events. And next thing you know, I've got this whole community of people who think similar to me. Now, we don't all agree on everything, but I have a very strong community of like-minded people, and we're strong. And I see that they're starting to, people are starting to get more things done politically by just being done themselves. They're having access to more finance, which is, we're not supposed to be without that in this world. We're not supposed to be having pain and suffering and poverty in this world. We're supposed to be well taken care of because we're fulfilling our purpose. If everybody can find their purpose, then they probably won't be broke. So if we could work on what you were talking about, our own actual logos and brands, to me, that would be the way to heal the world, because you're just doing your part. Yeah. We're too much in everybody else's business. You know what I mean? We're in too much.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. You can't tell because it's a bad camera, but my eyes are moist. You're speaking beautiful truth. You're speaking abundant, beautiful truth. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my dark-hued sister, my mahogany cousin, thank you. I have to go.
My pleasure, my duty.
What's that? Say it again. I didn't hear you. Abundance? You froze. Abundance. Hello? You froze. What did you just say?
I always say it is my pleasure and my duty, because it is.
Absolutely agree. So I have to go, but we are going to get together again, right? I mean, wow.
On your invitation, no problem.
And I will come.
I told you, I love to talk.
So would you mind dropping a plug for your restaurant, for your business?
I definitely do not mind.
Please tell people about it.
Please visit us at dropsquadkitchen.com. We are an unapologetically healthy, by any greens necessary, plant-based, vegan, soul food restaurant, where our mission is to use ethnic foods to bring people together to advocate for social change. Lâche du Mare.
Lâche du Mare means?
I give thanks to God.
Okay.
If God is willing.
Which language is that?
Yoruba.
Okay, beautiful.
And I'm not Yoruba, but I love the phrase,
Okay. And Abundance's restaurant is in Wilmington, Delaware.
On the riverfront.
On the river. Yeah, that's where I met her. It's where I met her. It's a beautiful location, and the food is good, and I absolutely highly recommend it. I will speak to you again soon. Thank you so much for this, Abundance.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And the way that I sign off, peace, 4 fingers. Yeah, I was just looking for something to say, and then one day I held up 2 peace signs, and I said 4 fingers, and I stuck.
This is victory. Peace.
Okay.
This is victory. So peace. And a great way to end your show is the same way when we leave out of the sweat, we say, all my relatives.
Mitakai Oyesin.
Yes, Mitakai Oyesin. I love it.
Bless you, Abundance. Thank you.
You're welcome. Peace.
Peace. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Be good to yourself.